SOLIDWORKS allows you to quickly generate multiple instances of the same component in an assembly by using component patterns. There are three types of component patterns: linear, circular, and feature-driven. In this lesson, we'll take a look at how linear component patterns are defined. We'll begin with the two-component assembly. What I'd like to do is create a pattern of the post-block component. The first step is to select a component pattern from the Insert drop-down menu. When you search for this command, remember it appears directly on the Insert drop-down menu, not in the Insert Component submenu. These features can also be launched directly from the Assembly's toolbar. For this exercise, I'll select Linear Pattern, and the Linear Pattern Property Manager appears. This Property Manager is split up into 4 sections. The first two allow you to define the direction, distance, and number of instances in the pattern. Next, you define the component you wish to pattern, and finally, you can select any instances in the pattern you wish to skip. Although I'll be creating a pattern of a single component in this example, be aware that you can pattern multiple components, assemblies, and even other patterns. When creating component patterns, I like to select the component first. This provides a preview of the pattern, making it easier to adjust the distance and direction parameters. Next, I'll activate the Direction 1 field, and I'll click the linear edge of the base to define the pattern direction. You can use edges, faces, planes, axes, pretty much anything that describes a vector as a reference for your pattern direction. As soon as a direction is defined, you'll see a preview of the pattern component, along with an arrow showing the pattern direction. If the direction is incorrect, simply click the Reverse Direction button in the Property Manager, or click the direction arrow directly in the graphics area. Next, I'll define the spacing of 36 inches, and I'll set the number of instances to 4. Note that this number includes the original component. By setting this to 4, I'm actually only making 3 copies. At this point, I'll click OK, and the pattern is complete. Now let's take a second to go over some of the details of the resulting pattern. If you look at the Feature Manager tree, you'll notice a new feature called Local Pattern is now listed. If I expand this feature, you'll see 3 instances of the post-block component listed as well. From here, the patterned components can be selected for operations such as hiding and showing, suppressing, or changing color. Now, one thing you won't see in the Feature Manager tree are additional mates. If I expand the mates folder, you can see only 3 mates exist, and they all pertain to the original post-block component. When a component pattern is created, the location of the resulting component instances is controlled only by the parameters of the pattern. Here, for instance, the new blocks are positioned 36 inches apart from each other along the edge of the base. Other details about their position, such as how far they are from the edge of the base and the fact that they're sitting on the face of the base, are controlled by the position of the original component. This means that if I were to change the position of the original component by adjusting one of its mates, each of the pattern components will move as well. While this behavior can be quite useful, there may be times when you do wish to move one of the pattern components individually. In such cases, you must first dissolve the pattern. This breaks the pattern apart and instead lists each of the components in the Feature Manager tree as individual parts. Notice new mates are still not added. This means that, although the blocks did not move, their position is now completely undefined, just like any other component that has no mates. In this example, I actually want to keep the linear pattern intact, so I'll click Undo to bring back the pattern. Next, I'd like to look at how a second direction can be used in a pattern. I'll right-click the existing pattern and select Edit Feature. The Property Manager appears once again. This time, I'll activate the Direction 2 field and select another edge of the base. The spacing will also be 36 inches, and the number of instances will be 3. Now, there's an important option available for the second direction called Pattern Seed Only. If I check this option, only the original component will be patterned in the second direction, and not the patterned instances. In this case, I won't be using this option. Instead, I wish to omit only a few of the patterned instances. This is where the last section at the bottom of the Property Manager comes into play. When I activate this field, each pattern component will have a dot in the center. By clicking the dot, that particular instance will be skipped and added to the list. To make a skipped instance reappear, simply delete it from the list in the Property Manager. At this point, I'll click OK, and the linear component pattern is complete.